All right, guys, I think we're live. I think we are good to go here. Dakota, what's going on, man? Brian, what's up? Man, there is Jay. What's going on, dude? How you doing? Uh, so first things first, obviously it's not our typical day that we normally stream. That's Tuesday nights at 7, but tomorrow night I gotta go pick up a couch at 6:30. So can't can't make it on Tuesday night. So, we were trying to come up with different days, different options, and Monday at noon was it worked. But Tyson, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good to talk to you. I think we did last week. I think we did noon as well because of all the news with Aaron Rodgers and everything like that. So I appreciate your flexibility as well. I'm off today, thank God, because of President's Day. So it works out perfectly. And there's always something to talk about in the New York Jets. So this will be fun.
Yeah, dude. So, gosh, man, like there's just so many, there's all these, reports coming out. We had one from Ian Rappaport. We had one from Diana Rossini. We had one this morning from Albert Breer regarding Aaron Rodgers. It is just, it's just one thing after another. I mean, he's not even on the team, and it's just continued to be talked about, continued changing reports, because all these different reports are a little bit different in one way or another. Personally, I'm just over it. In my opinion, I hate to just be blunt like that, but he's not on the team. It's not like the Jets are going to change their mind. Oh shoot, like actually, you know what? We have you back? It's simply not going to happen. And it's 100% clear that the Jets, Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, they're trying to build for the long term, and paying $80+ million for a 41-year-old quarterback with injury concerns is not necessarily, a fit for that type of build.
I'm really tired of talking about it, to be honest with you. I think once the decision is made, you accept it. You can argue about whether you liked it or not, and then you move on as a fan base and as an organization. I think the funny thing is, looking at all the reactions now, this is kind of why you want him to go, because this is a reaction to him just saying him leaving. Can you imagine if he's in an offense that wasn't playing well, and all the distractions, all the nonsense, all the articles, all the hype, it's just an unnecessary distraction you just don't need. It's, we've talked about it a million times at this point. First-time head coach, first-time general manager, trying to reestablish your culture, getting a new voice in your locker room, just installing so many different principles within the organization. This is why you do it. And to me, it's like there's going to be the Jets side, Aaron Rodgers side, and somewhere in the middle is probably the truth. At some point he's going to go on McAfee and share his side and be, oh my God, all these overreactions. I don't even care anymore, dude. I just want to talk about solutions. Like, he's gone now. It's over. Like, it doesn't matter what's said anymore. It's not going to make a difference. He's moving on. We have to move on. And now the most important thing is, it's the most important position on the team. It's the quarterback. We've got to find answers for the short term and for the long term. I'd rather discuss that, to be honest with you. It's just, right? That's where we're at.
It's over. There's really not much. There's nothing that can be said. There's nothing that's going to change about the situation. And that's kind of what this whole stream is about. But before we dive into new options, you just started up a new fundraiser, so I'll let you take it away. And by the way, I will pin that comment in the chat here as you're talking.
I completely appreciate it, man. On April 13th, I'm running my first marathon, Jersey City Marathon, with the goal of helping raise awareness for mental health and also helping raise money for our veterans. So Ian is very nice to put the link in the chat. I'm selling shirts. All the proceeds from the shirts go to help two great organizations that are supporting our veterans, one in Queens, New York, one in Thomasville, New Jersey. And I'm just, I appreciate all the support. A lot of people are suffering in silence. So to raise awareness for mental health is really important to me. And unfortunately, far too many of our veterans are not getting the support they need once they come back. PTSD, medical issues. So these two organizations are great. I've talked to them firsthand. I've seen what they do in the community, and they really give back. And the money gets donated, and you see the instant results with it, which is awesome. So I'm trying to do my part. April 13th, it all goes down. So for the next 6-7 weeks, I'm just trying to raise money and awareness. So that's it. And I appreciate you, man. Give me a chance to talk about it.
Yeah, dude, 100%, man. It's. I mean, just this day and age, there's just so many things just, being talked about in the media, and there's so many things to be stressed out and anxious about and everything. So no, it's really cool. It's really refreshing hearing, just your take. And this is not just something that's brand new. You've been doing this for a while. Year. So
yeah,
man, obviously a lot of people appreciate it. I really appreciate it. It's awesome, man. It truly is awesome.
No, I mean, we have shows like this are a great escape. Like football is an escape where we can leave reality, talk about our favorite team. It's sports, entertainment. But when that entertainment goes away, people are dealing with other issues, So it's like I kind of like to use our platform to kind of communicate other things as well, like a positive message or offering a hand. It's like it's just better. I wish more people would do it, to be honest with you, but we'll see we'll see what happens. A marathon is not easy. I'm training my ass off, but it sucks, especially when it's 30 degrees and windy, and today's even worse. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and so the link, so StreamYard's not letting me pin the link up at the top of the comments, but here it is right here. It's at 12:04. If you guys want to check it out there, this is the link for shirts. But yeah, dude, I think, when you take a look at just kind of where the Jets stand right now, again, long-term vision, no more Aaron Rodgers. The Jets actually there's so many different names. You've seen them, everyone's seen them. Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, Cam Moore, Chador Sanders, Hendon Hooker. There's so many names that people are just throwing out there. I guess we can start with the free agents first. And I guess we can maybe just knock Sam Darnold out of the way first, because I just don't I don't think that Darnold wants to come back. I think he's probably going to have suitors elsewhere. Maybe the Raiders, they have a lot of cap space. Potentially the Titans, if they're not maybe sold on one of the quarterbacks up at the top of the draft. Does he return to Minnesota on maybe, like a 1-year deal where McCarthy can truly learn and practice behind Darnold, and it's not just all about the rehab? I think Sam Darnold, it's kind of ironic because he's the top free agent quarterback, and the Jets really need a quarterback. I just don't see it actually, coming to fruition.
But what's your profile for a free agent quarterback? And is there a price tag on it? Because you could say, I don't want Kirk Cousins, but in theory, if he comes here for $3 million a year, okay. It's not, I'm not saying I want Kirk Cousins. I'm just saying, but what's your price? How much are you willing to pay on a free agent quarterback to come here if it's a short-term Band-Aid or a bridge quarterback when you already have Tyrod Taylor here? And that's where I get interested, because Derek Carr a little bit younger, Kirk Cousins coming off a big injury, was hurt last year. What's your profile?
For me personally, my profile, what I want is what the Jets coaches want. So in other words, if Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, and for that matter, Tanner Inkstrand, if they're looking at the free agents and they're like, yeah, we're not sold on any of them. Yeah, we like some in short-term roles. Can you just bridge us to 2026 to where we can really find that long-term answer? Mm-hmm. Fine. If that's how they feel, that's how they feel. Whether that's, again, a Fields, a Cousins, whoever. Sorry, it's a dog barking outside. Sorry, 2 people walking their dogs and they're barking at another. So I don't know if the mic's picking it up, but if the Jets feel like, hey, we love Justin Fields. Aaron Glenn loves Justin Fields. Tanner Inkstrand loves Justin Fields, whoever it may be. Sam Darnold even, right? Just take your pick. If there is 100% conviction, hey, this is the guy that I actually want to build around, or we want to build around for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons, I don't mind the Jets handing out a big deal if they truly have that conviction. But if they don't feel that way, I don't want them to feel pressured by whoever, the media, the expectations. I guess Kirk Cousins, so here's a lot of money to come, be our quarterback. I don't think the Jets are going to operate like that. But my profile, again, is if the Jets view one of these free agent quarterbacks as a long-term option, then I'm fine, giving out a bigger contract. But if not, then I just want to see that short-term bridge contract being handed out, which is like a 1-year, I would say maybe 1 year, 12, 13 million under, or under that 10 to $15 million range.
Yeah, say for an example, and I agree with you. To me, Matthew Stafford is not part of my equation in terms of trading for him. I'm not in that win now mode where it's a Jets are one quarterback away from going to the Super Bowl. Those days are long gone. Over the last 2 years, they're gone. So now it's all right, you want to be financially responsible and responsible with your roster as well. So Stafford's never going to happen. And I'm with you. If they say, hey, listen, Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, the connection, young, untapped talent that have got so much potential that we can maybe buy into it. You want to go that route, I'm fine with it. I'll pretty much go with anything except I don't know. Sam Darnold's not going to happen. But to me, a Derek Carr, if he does get released, or Kirk Cousins is out there, to me, it gets interesting with the money. How much money do they want? And then the other thing is, how much of an upgrade are they from Tyrod Taylor, which is everybody keeps saying, well, Tyrod Taylor never stays healthy. Well, Aaron Rodgers didn't either. But what's the money? Because the money you spend on quarterbacks is taking away from another position, and the Jets have a lot of other needs, right? So I'm curious to see how you handle that.
Yeah, man. I think to kind of go back to the start of the video, with the long-term build, the long-term vision. I don't think Darren Muji is, showing up to Florham Park, looking at all the team needs, safeties, D tackle, right tackle, tight end, all these different needs, and saying like stressing out, losing sleep, like, oh my God, I have to figure out an option at every single one of these. I got to send a free agent for every single one of these, positions of need. I think I'm going to assume the contract was longer. I don't think Darren Muji signed, a 4-year deal here. I'm going to sit here and assume it's probably a 5 or 6-year deal. And he's looking at the roster right now and is probably like, hey, we have all these team needs. Let's figure out the timeline first. What is our timeline? And you look at the bulk of the young players, the bulk of the better players on the roster. It is, for the most part, younger. AVT, Tippmann, Olu, Gardner, Michael Carter, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Olu. Like, these guys are young. They're not 31, 32 years old. So because we have this young group of core players, Muji, in my opinion, I don't know this to be a fact. I'm just going to sit here and guess. He's probably going to be strategic in free agents or in free agency and target those free agents that, of course, make sense and fit the system and fit the culture. But, maybe bring in guys that are on a similar timeline, like Onwuzurike from the Lions or Javon Holland, 2 younger players here. Yep. Holland's 25 years old. He'd fit in, beautifully. Whereas, maybe bringing in the 33-year-old isn't going to work. But with quarterback, of course, it's a little bit different because they play longer. And, you mentioned the money situation, right? With Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr. Derek Carr, I really have no idea what to predict there as far as a potential contract. With Cousins, he's still owed, I believe, over $40 million from the Falcons still. So he could essentially have the Russell Wilson effect, where he can say, hey, I just want to go to the best team fit. I will sign a veteran minimum contract, and I'm getting paid a ton from ATL. So I'm totally fine going wherever and taking whatever. I just want the best fit for me.
Yep.
Cousins is interesting because he fits the system. He's a veteran. He's always been kind of labeled as, someone who a lot of players in the locker room kind of just like and respect.
Yeah.
I mean, you listen to Michael Penix talk about Kirk Cousins. I mean, he's raving about him. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Penix literally said in his eyes, Cousins is the best quarterback of all time. Like, he's like the GOAT or whatever. But that's cool. Like, I like comments like that because it's like, that shows that, people will rally behind players. And I'm not going to, say, oh, Kirk Cousins is the answer. But as that 1-year bridge, right? What is a bridge? It's someone who can get you from 1 year to the next without this just tank, crap show of a season.
Exactly.
Complete mess. Can Cousins hold it down for a season? Maybe help instill the culture, be that coach on the field, be that encouraging, voice in the locker room and meetings at practice to really kind of kickstart the culture. And then, once you get to 2026, then you can go out and you can, whoever you want, Drew Aller, Arch Manning, maybe another free agent hits the market, or you have a surprise on your, on your roster. What happens if Kirk Cousins does a fantastic, there's a lot of different moving parts here. But Steven, bro, I appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you so much. Thoughts on trading for JJ McCarthy? I don't think it happens. I would like it, but I just don't think it happens because, you have a guy who, so Kevin O'Connell is one of the best offensive minds in football. I would say a top 5 offensive mind in football. He literally handpicked JJ McCarthy. He traded up for JJ McCarthy after 1 season. I just don't see him moving off of a guy like that for Sam Darnold, who is a bit of a wild card, especially coming off the last 2 games of the season. I think McCarthy is O'Connell's guy. And he looked pretty impressive in preseason, but
no, I agree. I completely agree. I think that's their guy. He's also coming off a major injury too, so it's not like I want to inherit that. I know he's still young, but I'm like, I think that's their guy. But the interesting about the quarterbacks though, it's just the money allocated to the position. But I do think they want a guy in there that will help them be competitive this year. Like the one thing that's been annoying me over the last week is that everybody's saying the Jets are punting on the season. They don't care about winning. They release Rodgers. They don't care. They do care about winning. And Aaron Glenn pretty much said that in his first press conference. Like, we want to win day one. I'm not saying Super Bowl or playoffs, but you build your culture by winning games and being competitive week in and week out. That's how you change things. I don't think they're punting on the season. They're going to try to find a quarterback if they don't believe in Tyrod Taylor or they want to give Tyrod legitimate competition to, whether it's Kirk Cousins like that. And then you have the young guy that's not forced into action to play this year, which everybody's talking about like quarterbacks in the chat, which is fine. I don't want to throw Jackson Dart in here week 1. You want to have these two guys. You're gonna build your offense, show how it's supposed to be run, learn the NFL, learn all that, maybe win some games, and have this kid just observe. And that's the best case scenario where everybody's satisfied. You're competitive week in and week out. You're getting good quarterback play. You can see what you have on your roster. We haven't even seen Corley last year. We don't know half these guys can even do because the offense has been so bad, right? So the quarterback, Fallon, you're crazy. What in the world?
What are you doing, man?
Come on,
thank
man.
you.
That's insane.
I don't even know what to say.
That's wild.
That's crazy, dude. I don't know. I feel uncomfortable just seeing this on the dude. I don't know if there's like a take back option, but if you change your mind, man, if you want to take that back, dude, feel free. There's no hard feelings at all, bro. I appreciate you. Jeez, man, that is. I'm almost at a loss for words. Sorry to cut you off, Tyson.
No, but so like going back to the quarterbacks though, it's like, what is your now? We'll go with this. Justin Fields. Do you think he stays in Pittsburgh? Because that's the one guy that a lot of Jet fans are talking about the most, where young guy, untapped potential that, Garrett Wilson, you can maybe build your offense around him, the mobile quarterback, the big arm. Do you think he stays in Pittsburgh and they move on from Russell Wilson? That would be one name off the list.
I do think he stays with the Steelers. I think if you are Pittsburgh, well, first of all, Fields looked pretty good in those first 3 weeks. And it's not like he got hurt or benched for it was a situation where Russ, was finally healthy, and they're like, you know what, Tomlin, we're going to make this kind of executive decision here. We're going to move forward with Russ. It wasn't like Fields sucked or Fields played poorly or Fields, again, just, got hurt with this thing and there's injury concerns and everything like that. He was put on the bench. So he was still out there practicing. He was watching Russ, again, in meetings, in practice. And supposedly that relationship is pretty good between those guys. Valen, bro, I still can't even believe this.
You're making him blush right now, Valen. Ian's blushing right now.
Truly, man, truly. Like, that's just insane. It's an insane amount of money, bro. That truly means the world. I'm losing my train of thought, but anyway, So Fields, to me, if you are going to be moving on from Russ, if you're Pittsburgh, go get the guy that performed well. Go get the guy that already knows the team. Go get the guy that has the chemistry with the players and who's probably going to be pretty cheap. He's looked pretty good in Arthur Smith's system. Arthur feels comfortable with him. It's pretty clear that Fields would be I would say a seamless fit in Pittsburgh. I just don't feel like Fields would uproot everything to go to Vegas or Indy or Tennessee or New Orleans, a team like that, when there's so many. He has a number 1 receiver in Pickens. He has 1,000-yard back in Najee Harris. He has a receiving threat in Freiermuth. He has an established coach and a great defense. Granted, tough division, and they have some roster holes. But if you're Justin Fields, I'm going back to Pittsburgh. The question is, what does Pittsburgh want? Does Pittsburgh want Rodgers? Does Pittsburgh want Darnold? How do they feel about Fields?
So for this scenario, just to try to narrow down how it's going to play out, I kind of agree with you. I think if you're Pittsburgh, I think Russ moves on. They stay with Justin Fields there. This just for this scenario. So if Russell, say Fields is gone, safe to say Sam Darnold's not going to come here. Now you have two of your younger options off the table in terms of guys you're looking for. So it's mostly more veterans that are out there. Would you consider Russell Wilson, or do you think it's kind of a foregone conclusion he goes with Pete Carroll with the Raiders?
I don't mind Russ, to be honest, again, just as that 1-year bridge guy, but it didn't work out in Denver. Darren Muji's coming in from Denver. I think if you're Russ, you probably are looking at the Raiders situation, saying, okay, I could probably get a little bit more money over there. I don't know. I feel like the Raiders are, the way I'm kind of looking at it is I feel like there's going to be certain teams in free agency that are like, hey, we have our eyes set on 1 or 2 guys, and we're really going to try to push to make that happen. Whereas the Jets, I'm going to assume that they're going to sit back and just kind of wait and see. I don't think the Jets are going to be like, buzzing Sam Darnold's phone off the hook, trying to be like, hey, 3-year deal, 4-year deal. we immediately got to get in contact with Russell Wilson or, all these different quarterbacks that are being talked about. I think it's just kind of like, hey, if it happens, it happens. If the Jets, if things fall through elsewhere, the Jets will then pounce.
Right.
But if they're all, and this is an assumption here, if they're kind of viewing all the quarterbacks in a same in like the same group or light, if you will, like just can you get us to 2026? Then there shouldn't really be that pressing need of, all right, man, we got to overpay or we got to go get in this huge bidding war. If they view Carr and Cousins and Fields and all these different guys, it's just, can you get us to 2026? I just don't feel like the variation with contract lengths, contract price is going to change all that much, or even aggression in the free agent market. I think it's all just going to be like, if they feel like lukewarm on all these guys, then the approach for all these guys, they're going to be the same. But I do feel like Russ makes sense with the Raiders.
So then, okay, I kind of agree with you there. Then my question is, how much? So you're taking Russ out of the equation, Darnold, right? Justin Fields, the guys that are remaining. Like, what is your honest assessment of Tyrod Taylor? We saw play limited last year, but how much of an upgrade are we getting over him with the other guys available? Like, you can make a case that Cousins is better, Carr potentially could be better as well, depending on their health and with the system. But like, how much upgrades are actually available out there, like, based on what you think of Tyrod? Like, I think Tyrod's a very good game manager, great athlete, can run, can throw. I think he's a very good leader. You respect the guy in the locker room. They like him there already. But like, what's a significant upgrade to him?
Yeah, that's the main question, right? I think from that point, it's who fits the system the best. If Tanner Engstrand is like looking at Tyrod Taylor, he's looking at Jordan Travis for that matter, right? Because he's on the roster. And he's saying, okay, what does Kirk Cousins have over these two? Or like, what does Carr bring to the table? What does Fields bring to the table that these two guys can't do?
Yeah.
And when we have that list of, bullet points, how much is it worth to bring? Like, how much are those points worth? Is it worth an extra 15 mil? Is it worth 20 mil? Is it worth 2? Like that's kind of the big question. For me at least. And I think Tyrod, he's a fine game manager. I've always liked Tyrod Taylor from afar.
Yep, me too.
Buffalo, Cleveland. I mean, he's bounced around. He's been on so many different teams, but I don't know. I like his story. I liked how he was such like a just dynamic, productive quarterback back at Virginia Tech, late round pick because of his size. And he's really carved out. You see quarterbacks come and go. Bryce Petty, Hackenberg, Jacob Eason, like all these different guys. They're in, they spend 2-3 years, and then they're out.
Yeah.
Tyrod, dude, he was in the same draft class as Cam Newton, and he's still in the league, carving out a role and could very well start for this Jets team. I like him. He's a great teammate. He knows what he's looking at from a defensive side. He's not going to get overwhelmed or confused. Now, is he a top 15 quarterback? No. Does he have injury concerns? Yes. But can he hold it down for that bridge, for that bridge season? I think if the health is there, we're going to see at least competent quarterback play. Someone who takes care of the football, not just huck it up in a double and triple coverage to try to make plays down the field. I think he knows his role, and players really like Tyrod.
So then I agree with you. Like, to me, I feel a little more comfortable knowing he's on the roster right now because he's respected. He's established in the NFL. He was voted for captain last year by some of his teammates, which is a really good sign. But then it's like, say if you go in the direction of Tyrod, like, all right, he's our guy for now. Who's going to be like, who would you feel comfortable being his backup? Would you want a project guy? Like, you've talked about Hendon Hooker a lot. Would you want a guy to kind of take a chance on that? Or would you still want a veteran that won't cost as much money, say just in theory, a Marcus Mariota or something like that, to back up Tyrod, to protect the young quarterback, no matter who it is you draft, from seeing the field anytime soon? Like, are you looking to have that buffer there? Because I kind of am in that boat where it's like, all right, you want Tyrod? Cool. No problem. Give me somebody else that's established, veteran NFL quarterback behind him, and then Jordan Travis, which we have no idea what he is right now, and your young quarterback. I'd kind of structure like that if you want Tyrod to be your starter week 1.
Yeah, dude. For me, as much as I love Tyrod, I'm not going into the year. Like, I'm not sitting here right now, if I'm Aaron Glenn, if I'm Engstrand, saying Tyrod's a starter. I need to see that first. I need him to prove it to me. So I think, honestly, dude, if I was the Jets right now, I was the head decision maker, the way I'm looking at it is this. Tyrod's on the roster. Jordan Travis is on the roster. I want to add one young player
Yep.
and 1 vet
Yep.
to the
I agree.
QB room. So
I agree.
4 total. So whether, that's a combination of however they want to do it, right? Your veteran wants to be, you want Jameis Winston, like
That'd be funny.
Ricardo, which would be an interesting option, right? You want Mariota, you want, Jarrett Stidham, who's kind of,
Yeah.
youngish, but he's on his third team.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be on a fourth team. We'll see what happens with Stidham. He was with Denver last season. Again, Darren Muji was there in Denver. One veteran, Daniel Jones, maybe if he wants to take a cheap contract, whatever it is, just add one more veteran to the room. So now you're up to 3, Travis, Tyrod, random vet.
Mhm.
And then you add a young guy, whether that's trade for Sam Howell. And I'm not talking about trading a second or third round pick. I'm talking late round pick.
I always like Sam Howell.
Comp pick. And the reason why I say Howell, it doesn't look like Howell's going to be starting for Seattle. It's, you're looking at Howell's connection with the Jets. He's worked with the quarterback coach, London. So there is that, familiarity there. I think it would be, a solid option because he actually has NFL experience. If you don't want to go with Howell, you can go with Hendon Hooker, who knows the Lions coaches. We've talked a lot about that possibility. So again, you'd have your 3 options, and then that young guy, Howell, Hooker. Do you want to maybe draft one? Like Dylan Gabriel here.
Yeah.
I'm high on Dylan Gabriel. What are both your thoughts on him in like the 3rd round? Personally, I think 3rd round is a little too rich in my opinion, but Gabriel's played so much football, dude. He's been a part of 3 schools, UCF, Oklahoma, Oregon. He's had a lot of success in those 3 schools. He's never really been a guy he played early on in his career, and it's funny because like a lot of my buddies love Dylan Gabriel because he committed to UCF, which is in Orlando, which is and I had a lot of buddies that went to UCF and kind of follow that program and whatnot. So I've heard the Dylan Gabriel chatter for a long, long time before he went to Oklahoma. Again, just kind of locally here, but he takes care of the football. He's short, he's compact, he can move a little bit, good arm strength. Coachable, willing to work. It seems like he has a great work ethic. I like Dylan Gabriel, but not in the 3rd round. I mean, the Jets have so many holes. You can argue they could draft a safety in the 3rd round and he would start on this team. So I don't necessarily want to sacrifice a starter for a developmental quarterback in a draft where there's plenty of developmental quarterbacks, if that makes sense.
That's exactly what I was thinking. The same thing. Where a developmental quarterback, I'm thinking later on in the draft is my preference because you want to get those impact players for this year that can start this year, or not even start, but be big time contributors this year. But in terms of the draft, it gets really, really interesting because based on who you listen to, it's either a top heavy quarterback class where you have like your top 2, maybe 3. If that there's a drop off where it's like, you know what, I only feel comfortable in the 2nd round. Like a lot of like prospects, developmental guys. So if you're the New York Jets, is there a chance they fall in love with one of these guys, Ward or Sanders, and say, you know what, we need this guy? I'm going to tell you my answer now. I'm not in this boat at all. But if this is we want, trust what they do they say, you know, we want Cam Ward. This is the guy we want. That's our future. We're going to build around him starting this year. He's going to sit behind Tyrod. We're going to trade up to get him. Do you think that that's a case they can do that? Or are you in the boards like have your 2 veterans, have your project quarterback, and look at next year's draft class and be like, you know what? I feel a little more positive about that one where I got a better chance of acquiring my long-term quarterback.
Well, dude, 2020, the 2026 QB class is, I would say, at this point, much, much, much better than this year's class. Not a slight or disrespect, to the guys in this class, but when you look at just all the names right now, and we still, of course, have the season to go, but we have Arch Manning, we have Drew Aller from Penn State. We have even Noah Fafita from Arizona. Is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have like the build, but you watch the arm strength, dude. Oh my, dude, Fafita's arm strength is like he throws rockets. It's wild. Carson Beck, where would have, and I know not everyone's high on Carson Beck, and I'm not really that high on him either. But if Carson Beck was in this class, he would have been QB3. He would have been over Gabriel and McCord and Dart and all these guys. But he goes back to school and he goes to Miami. What, like, eerily similar to Cam Ward, right? Cam Ward coming out of Washington State last season.
Yeah.
He I believe he actually declared for the draft. And then the word was like, because when you declare or you're getting ready to declare for the draft, you essentially get like a letter back in return. I don't know if that's provided by the agent or who exactly provides it, but it's just kind of like the rumor mill, the rumblings
Right.
on where you're going to go, like how NFL teams view you. So that's why sometimes you'll see like, someone who maybe could declare for the draft and then all of a sudden, nope, I'm going back to school
Yep.
because
Get
they
the
get
advice.
word
Yep.
you're a 5th round guy in our eyes. And Cam Ward was labeled as a 3rd to 5th round quarterback last season coming out of Washington State. So, especially with NIL, where these guys are getting paid, might as well go back to school. And, in Ward's case, he transferred out. He goes to Miami, a bigger, program where you're playing a better competition for that specific season. Carson Beck, leaving Georgia, going to Miami. I know it might be considered like maybe a downgrade as far as like the overall team is consisted of. But when you look at the talent level that Beck had at Georgia last season, specifically when they lost a bunch of guys, Bowers and whatnot, like there were a lot of disappointing plays from the supporting cast around Beck, like up front with the offensive line. There were, multiple drops as well. I think if Beck goes back to college, or, he is going back to college, but if he puts together a productive season with Miami where he just kind of refines his craft and gets a little bit more polished, we could see him being that mid to late 1st round quarterback next season. Again, it's not popular to say right now, because of his kind of resume right now, but it's very similar to Cam Ward, where
what's your assessment of Cam Ward right now? Is that a guy that you would put your flag on, be like, you know what, the Jets want to move up to get him this year, that's our guy? Do you think he's worthy of that now, or do you say, you know what, I respect him, if he falls to the Jets, obviously then it's like everything changes, but would you be willing to give up your draft resources to get him over saying, wait till next year?
Well, I do think, and bro, this is a great point. Howell also had Scott Turner as his OC in Washington. I didn't even freaking, man, that went right over my head. That's a great point, man. That's a really, really good point, Rich. With Cam Ward, dude, the way I'm kind of viewing the way I'm viewing all these quarterbacks, they're developmental prospects. I don't think there's one that starts out of the gate that looks like Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels.
Right.
I think we're probably going to see, like literally in every case, Sanders, Ward, Dart, Gabriel, McCord, all of these guys, right?
Yeah.
It's probably best for them to sit either half a year or a full season. Now, with the NFL and the pressure and, there's other things in play, jersey sales, like, fan excitement, we'll probably see the quarterbacks, Ward and Sanders, start early on, even if they're not 100% ready. But again, it kind of goes back to what the new regime wants. If Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, Tanner Ingstrand, and I would probably throw in Rick Spielman as well, if he greenlights everything, I'm fine with the Jets going up and getting Cam Ward or Sanders. I think Sanders is the better fit for what the Jets want to do.
Right. Drop
back passer, someone who works really well in the pocket, looks to beat defenses first from the pocket, can move a little bit, but it's not his first, weapon in his arsenal. Whereas with Cam Ward, there's a lot of like, when the play breaks down, extending plays, magician types of plays where it's just huge chunk plays down the field. I think Cam Ward has the higher ceiling, but I think Sanders has the higher floor. So I think, you can, I mean, really, dude, there's so many things in play, right? With it. What do the Giants do at 3? What do the Titans do at 1? I have a hard time envisioning the Jets trading up to spot number 1, although I think it maybe could make some sense for the Titans to move back, but the Jets are already at a loss of picks. We traded a pick away for Devontae Adams. We're trading away. We traded away a 2026 pick for Hassan Reddick. So I don't think the Jets necessarily should trade up. But if one's on the board, I think they would consider it.
Yeah, I mean,
if one falls to 7, I'm saying.
If one falls to 7, it gets interesting, but I'm not trading up. Like you said, if they have that strong conviction that Cam Ward's their guy and this is it, they're all in, like, this is our future, let's go for it. But the question I have, and I was going to mention Dart next, but the question I have for you is, do you have concerns going with the quarterback in the first round when you have your first-time offensive coordinator, first-time head coach? Like, we've already been through this. To me, a part of me, this is probably the cynical part of me, where it's like, I'm kind of like, I almost want them to have their offense in place this year And then when you get your quarterback next year, you already have your parameters in place where it's like, all right, we know what we're doing here. We kind of worked out the learning curve. They can't, all the little nonsense we have here. This is our system. We know what we can and can't do. Now we know the plug and play quarterback we want, and you're it. As opposed to having this top, at this point, 7 pick, learning with the offense and maybe struggling. Do you agree with that? Or you're like, you know what? Let them learn together. Like, what's your philosophy on that?
Yeah, dude. I mean, so like what you're kind of describing is like the Patriots situation last year. Like, take May up at the top of the draft. Yeah, we need receivers. Yeah, we need offensive linemen. Yeah, we need some defensive players. And then Mayo gets fired. AVP is not brought back. And so Drake May, like, he was thrown into action with not a lot of help. And now it's year 2 and he's learning a brand new offense with everything,
Exactly.
which is not ideal. I think the positive for New England is Drake May actually looks freaking legit, at the QB position. But it really, dude, again, for me, like, I hate to keep giving the same answer, but it just comes down to how the Jets actually feel. I think with the whole like Darnold and Zach Wilson thing, there was this element of like, please save us. Like, we need a savior here. Can you please go out and win us football games, as opposed to, hey, we're going to win football games with this culture and with this roster. We need a quarterback to, help us get there, not just Andrew Luck it and just say, here's our quarterback. You're super talented. Please do everything for us. That's kind of how it felt like with Zach. I mean, he was given the starting quarterback job. What was it? I think the day after the draft.
So ridiculous.
They said he was going to be the starter the day after the draft. It's like, what do we do? Like, I don't like that at all. I don't like starting young quarterbacks, from the jump, unless they're like completely polished coming out. I think Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck. I mean, I could sit here and go down the list of all the quarterbacks that I felt like were okay to play early, but with Ward or Sanders, again, dude, if Tanner Engstrand is beating on the table, like, I want Sanders, let's say. I want Sanders over Tyrod, Jordan Travis, Cam Ward, whoever, Darnold, Fields, Sanders is my guy. I want him. Yeah. And Aaron Glenn is like, dude, I love Sanders. I want him too. I like him over all these other quarterback options. Darren Muji. Well, that's pretty ironic because I love him too. I want him. And there's full conviction. And there's no other ties in play like fan excitement or jersey sales where it's like, okay, we're gonna go draft Shedeur Sanders and we're gonna just chuck him out there early. If he's not ready to play, I don't want to see him play. I think ideally, again, if there's that 100% conviction, who am I to argue what the Jets should do or not? Like, we haven't seen these guys develop a quarterback. We haven't seen them.
Yeah, but like, I completely agree with you. But I guess whatever. I just want to know what your philosophy is with that, because you don't want to force nobody out there. You're not listening to the fans or the media. But it's like, what's the best case scenario for your young quarterback to prosper in the NFL? And as Jet fans, we've pretty much found every way to not do it because we've done it wrong for the last decade. So for me, like, what's your best case scenario? And I'm kind of leaning where if you get a guy in the later rounds, 3rd, 4th round, I think Jackson Dart's probably gonna go a little bit higher. But if you have this year as like your true building year of building your roster, building your offense, identifying all your things, and then you get everything comfortable. Everybody's established now. Where next year you know exactly what you want, when you want, and how you want it, and then you get your young quarterback if you want to go in the 1st round to get it. This year it just seems like it's so much, especially when you get rid of Rodgers and this fan base wants to win now. And there's so much like attention to the Jets. Like, if you draft Sanders, you have to be a very strong organization to say, you know what, he's not playing this year. He's not ready. Tyrod's playing. You can boo, you can do whatever you want. He's sitting out the entire year until we think he's ready. It's going to put this organization in a very, very difficult spot with the expectations as well, as opposed to you getting your guy in the 4th round, bringing in whoever you want, Russ and Tyrod, and have that, and just kind of, like a mid-level season where you're just competing, establishing your culture, and just building your program that way.
Right. But I think kind of the precursor, so I'm 100% on board with you. I think the precursor to that, though, is how the Jets internally feel about the QB options. If they're like, yeah, Sanders is good, he's all right, nothing special, then yeah, it's probably not going to happen. If they're like, yeah, Ward's all right, we can work with him, I guess, but he's not like the desired, handpicked, handpicked, whatever, crown jewel of the franchise. then I just don't see it happening. But if the Jets are like, bro, we love Ward, we love Sanders, who, we really feel like we can work wonders with this guy, because Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, every move that they've made so far has been long term. It's not the short term quick fix.
Nor should it
So
be.
with the most important position in football, with a stacked 26 QB class, that conversation is going to come up, which is, how does Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart, for that matter, how do these guys stack up to next season? Do
That's my
we?
question.
Yeah, and so if the Jets fall in love with someone, or they hold these guys or one of these guys in really high regard, then I really don't mind the Jets, go out and getting their guy. Trading up, though, is a different story, because we have a lot of roster holes.
Yeah.
If we're trading up, we're giving away assets to go get a guy who's not going to fill an immediate need this season, who's going to step in and play. So, the alternative route, as Boogie here mentions, and bro, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Trade back is the only answer, and pick a safety/corner. Why trade back? To acquire more picks.
Yep.
Right. More picks means more, theoretically, more roster holes filled. You're adding more talent to the team. Safety, huge need. Corner, huge need on the outside.
I could debate that one. But I mean, so, okay,
Yeah,
we'll just go back to the quarterback real quick, though. I agree with you. Now, Jackson Dart is a guy that everybody's talking about now. Spielman loved him. Everybody's seen the comments Spielman made about him. So it's like, okay, where do you assess him, and where do you rank him? Is he a guy, like, to me, you don't reach in the first round. Like, I don't want to do that whatsoever. He's got to be like, if you have this crazy infatuation with Ward, you want to take him there, fine. Do you see a scenario, especially after guys had their pro days and everything else? Every year, guys climb the ladder and they come out of nowhere, where a quarterback all of a sudden is a top 10 guy. Do you think Dart could be a guy like that, where people are become enamored with him and want him to be, or make the Jets, want them to be their next signal caller?
It just comes down to that so I don't think Dart's ready to play right now. I think if he is drafted, say, at 42 in the second round, and he's the day one starter, the Jets might be in trouble. Because I think with Jackson Dart, like, to me, Jackson Dart to me has a lot of traits, like the physical traits you like. He has the strong arm. He has the mobility. He's a tough runner. He is a big dude. He's not like this small, frail quarterback with injury concerns. Like, there's a lot of deep ball accuracy, production in the SEC. There are things. The Senior Bowl week, getting a little bit better every practice.
Right.
There are things to like about Jackson Dart, but the problems with Jackson Dart, he's coming from Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. And like, you look at kind of how people talk about the Lane Kiffin offense in regards to QB prospects coming to the NFL. They, for the most part, all have a pretty difficult time transitioning, going straight from Kiffin to the league, because Lane Kiffin is such a great offensive mind. I mean, you're watching Dart, deliver passes. You're watching, some of like the heights at Ole Miss. He's throwing from perfectly clean pockets, playing in a fantastic system with a fantastic play caller that's known for scheming receivers open.
Right.
So, in other words, if Jackson Dart's going to have to get down under center with this new, tannering strand offense, assuming it's going to look like Detroit,
right,
and there's already going to be the learning curve of the terminology, but you're going from Lane Kiffin to the NFL, I think it's a big jump. Like, life is not going to be just so easy and smooth like it was back at Ole Miss, where everything is just like, you got it made. You got the coach, you get the play caller, you got the scheme.
So what round do you think he goes in? Like, what? Like, so based on that, do you think a team's going to reach for him based on his potential and talent, or does he? Because, like, I think every year we always overrate quarterbacks. Oh, he's definitely second rounder, and next thing you know, the draft comes, he's a fourth round pick. I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, we see it every year. Literally every year, we clamor for quarterbacks, and they always go like 2 or 3 rounds later, and then we always thought they go like. So where do you have him? Like, what would be a realistic round based on what you think he is for Dart right now?
So I think because like the QB class is weaker this year, he's probably going to go in round 2.
Oof.
But to the point of the Jets drafting him, if the Jets love the skill set and the potential with Dart, and they're like, he's not playing this entire season, and we feel like he can get up to this point where we want him to be, or how we envision our franchise quarterback with a year on the bench, then again, who am I to argue with what they feel as though they can do?
But here's my question though, and this is kind of going to this to Matt's point right here. It's say the Jets have that, like, you know what, we're going to take Dart second round, no rush to play him this year, but you end up with a top 12 pick next year. This is why I don't want a quarterback in the second round. I'm not going to lie to you. If you have this quarterback class that's as of now highly touted for next year, I don't want anything to happen this year to prohibit me taking a quarterback next year. So if you take Dart in the second round this year, which is it's a valuable pick that you can get a starter in theory. Then next year, you can take another quarterback in the first round, investing back-to-back, high picks on a quarterback. To me, it's almost like a bad allocation of resources, right? That's kind of the way I look at it. Where if a quarterback in the fourth round, it's a project, you understand it. It's not high value in terms of draft, resources. Then next year you can go first round, you don't have to care about it. Do you understand? Like, that's kind of where I'd be nervous with a second round pick this year.
Yeah, for sure. Which is why, again, there needs to be that conviction there from the front office coaching staff, because if there's not that conviction, then I don't want the Jets to touch a quarterback in this class because of that exact reason. But if there is, and maybe one falls to the Jets where they're not trading away draft assets, and again, there's just that full on belief within the organization that they can be the guy in 2026, or however long they feel like the timeline should last, then personally I'm fine with it. But Matt, bro, I appreciate you, man. Ian, you keep saying that the 26 class is better, but never say the names. Besides Archie, well, I don't actually know if this comment came up before we were talking about it, but so the thing is too, it's like, of course you have guys like Arch Manning and like Fafita, but with Beck and Aller, they would have, like, in this class, Drew Aller would have been a first round pick if he came out this season, right? But when we're fast forwarding to the 2026 draft class, or I should say the 2026 draft, a full year would have gone by. So this is another year for Aller and Beck because both of those guys have just insane ceilings and a ton of potential. There's lots of time. I mean, we hear all the time, oh, this guy should go back to school. This guy should go back to school. Justin Herbert should go back to school. And he did, right? Beck and Aller, they're in the same boat. Yeah, they're pretty interesting QB prospects coming out. But man, if they go back to school for one more year, they're going to be that much more experienced, that much more ready to go for the NFL level, that much more polished and matured as a player. The Carson Beck of today might not be viewed the same as the Carson Beck that's drafted 1 year from now, after another full season with a brand new team and a new coaching staff and some talent there at Miami. We'll see what happens. And of course we can see someone take a step back, like Matt Barkley was someone like that. First overall pick, goes back to school, and he's, just like a developmental late round guy. Sure, that could happen. But, with just the trends, you're seeing someone like Aller and Beck, specifically those two guys, a lot of potential. They're going back to school. Dude, if they put up 2 good seasons, if they improve on what they showed so far, those guys are going to go high.
Yep. No, that's an excellent answer. That's the whole thing. There's so many interesting, like, going back another year could either help them or break them. Where they're going to be defined then. Like, you went back to improve your game, you've remained the same, then you kind of know what they are, right? This is really like their chance to put up or shut up in terms of developing as like a higher touted prospect.
Yeah, and Charles makes a good point here. I don't want this regime to reach and rush the process. I want them to see them play the long game and build the team wisely from the ground up. 100%, man. 100%. And here's kind of another maybe interesting point in regards to the whole like QB at 7 or QB at 42. Those, in my opinion, because the Jets have so many needs, those are 2 starters.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets want to go with Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan, at 7, and then Trapilo from Boston College at right tackle in round 2. Those are 2 starters at huge positions of need. If they want to go with Tyler Warren at 7, and Grant from Michigan falls to round 2, and you land your starting tight end and you land your starting D tackle. If one of those is a quarterback, whatever, Ward or Sanders fall to 7, or they go with Dart in round 2, you're essentially trading a player that would be a starter for a developmental quarterback. And again, how do the Jets feel about these QBs? That's really the question that we need. And I don't think they actually know at this point. Combine, pro days, private workouts, I think is the weeks go by, we'll get more and more and more information on how because the Jets are still trying to build up the front office.
Yeah.
To my understanding, they don't have all the answers right now with the prospects compared to a team like maybe the Giants, who've been like diligently working all season long on this crop of QBs. But Boogeyman, is trading out of the first a better option or no? Personally, I want us to land a player at 7.
Me too.
Because we have all these needs. And again, you can argue for Ted McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona. If we lose Lazard and Adams, we're going to have a huge need at receiver. Will Johnson at corner, right? You can go out and land a CB1 on a cheap rookie deal for 5 years. You're probably going to pay Gardner a lot. You're paying Carter a lot. Now you have an opportunity to go out and land, again, a true corner 1 and pay him a cheap rookie deal. I mean, that's like literally the I would say the most talented. Well, why are you shaking your head?
A corner in the first round, while I respect the talent and the potential need, it would annoy me. It would definitely annoy me. It would, because to me, it's like, look at your needs. You talked about it. To me, it's like you're going to lose Lazard and Adams. They're going to be gone. You need a receiver. Desperately need a receiver. You're going to need a tight end. You're going to need maybe an offensive lineman. Defensive tackle. Our defensive line is a mess thanks to Joe Douglas and his incompetence. So you can get studs there. To me, the corner is a nice to have. Sauce Gardner with Aaron Glenn should become much better a player than he was last year. Michael Carter is getting paid one of the top nickel corners in football. You don't need 3 all-stars in your secondary. You don't. I just think there's more pressing needs. And you can get more bang for your buck going to a different position to address it. That I would understand it, but I wouldn't like. I'd rather have a different stud, a different position that can have a bigger impact when you have Sauce. I mean, Sauce should be great now, right? Or at least back to like Pro Bowl level with a much, a stricter defense, better discipline, better technique, right?
Right. So realistically speaking, free agents, guys on the roster, draft picks, you can take your pick realistically, right? Just so in your head, like thinking of the contracts and everything that it would take to land guys, who would be your picture perfect corner 2 for next season?
Eccles. Why not? I don't need I like Eccles. I have no problem with that whatsoever, because I have more of a premium on the defensive line or upgrading the offense. You need playmakers on offense, and you're not going to have a lot of them once you got to figure the tight end position is empty. Conklin's probably going to gone. Rucker, what do you do with him? Kenny Yeboah. Like, you need studs now. You got to replace all these guys with improved talent. So to me, I don't know. That's my own personal preference. I just think when you have 2 of your 3 very good corners, keep in mind we also need safeties too. Like, there's so many other areas of need that I would just go in a different direction. And I understand the talent. I understand the player. It's just where you want to put your money and your value.
Right. I think, by that logic, if you maybe cross corner off at spot number 7, it kind of further, well, if you cross QB off and corner off at spot number 7, that would really, it would put more eggs into the basket of a Ted McMillan or a Tyler Warren, and so going back to the original question, trading out of the first round a better option or no? I think trading back in the first round would be awesome, because at that point, dude, if you get like Malachi Starks from Georgia, who's my favorite player in the draft, not saying he's the best player, but just my personal favorite, rangy center fielding free safety. If you get him in the building, now all of a sudden with his talent level in the backfield, he essentially makes Eccles' job or Stigger's job easier at corner 2, because you have that over the top help. So you can, spin it like that if you want to. Right. And then, the other way, right? If you want to go with a Will Johnson at 7, it takes some of the pressure off of the safeties to go out and land those top end talents. But this is kind of the good news, man. This is like why I feel like having the 7th overall pick is awesome for the Jets, because we have so many needs. It's not like we're locked into it's not like we're in the Giants situation. Yeah, they have needs, but we all know quarterback is number 1 on their thing. They cannot exit free agency in the draft without a quarterback. They can't, but they have the 3rd pick. Yep. So the Titans could go with 1. The Browns could go with 1. What happens if someone trades up? I feel like the Jets right now, first year of Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, they're not panicking. They're like, yeah, we can go with a wideout. We can go with the tight end, a D tackle. What happens if an edge rusher falls to us, like Abdul Carter? It's not going to happen, but something like that.
But I completely agree with you. To me, they almost have to put a premium on offense, though. You have to, because At some point, you want to build around a young quarterback. I don't want to have a young quarterback dropping back to pass. Corley can't get open. Gibson's out there. This guy's out there. You have Garrett Wilson triple team because nobody's scared of him. Nobody's scared of anybody else. Like, kind of build it where you have a plethora of resources on offense where it's like when that quarterback is there, they're ready to fly, right? That's something the Jets have failed to do. Well, they tried to do it, but they bombed out on all the receivers, Elijah Moore, Denzel Mims, all those other guys. I kind of would, I want those playmakers on offense over having this stacked defense.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I think if that's the case, though, you're probably only looking at 2 guys at 7, McMillan or Warren. I don't think there's an offensive lineman worth taking. So I think Warren probably at 7 is realistic. Like, he's realistically going to be there. I don't know if McMillan will. So that opens up kind of a whole new conversation. Like, tight end at 7, is it worth it? But Hater, bro, I appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you so much. As a Bama fan and avid SEC watcher, don't be fooled by Dart's Senior Bowl performance. He's Zach Wilson 2.0, who's played better comp, solid 4th round pick, though, in my opinion. Yeah, Dart to me is just a developmental guy. If he has a year on the bench and the team loves him and he fits the system, then, maybe we can see him be a friend. I just don't see him stepping in year 1 and like looking like Jaden Daniels, or looking like Bo Nix, looking like Drake May, or even Penix did, like at the end of the season.
Now, what is your, speaking of the defense, though, what is your take on the defensive line, though? Because to me, it's like you desperately need a defensive tackle to play next to Quinnen. Teammates like, with Aaron Glenn, you got to stop the run. The run defense has been terrible. Defense has been terrible. It was terrible last year in general, but you have your pass rushers and Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, which is good. It's a good starting block, at least. You have Quinnen in the middle, but he needs help. How much of a premium do you put on that? Is that something you look at maybe in free agency? Because I don't think they're going to spend big in free agency. I think probably all the mid-tier guys, try to get your bargain guys, like try to get a lot of value instead of chasing big names. But how do you see them addressing it? Is it a free agent thing or is it a draft thing?
I think Onwuzurike from the Lions will be really, really interesting for D tackle because he's young. Because, I mean, I guess you can maybe argue he could go back to Detroit, but they just paid McNeil all that money at D tackle. And I think, him as a draft prospect back at Washington was a great run stuffer.
Mm-hmm.
That to me pairs nicely with Quinnen Williams, and it kind of takes some of the pressure off of him. But, there's, when it comes to free agency, it's not, unless you're willing to be the highest bidder, like no matter what, like we will go land this guy no matter what it takes to go pay him.
Right.
It's a crapshoot. You don't, what if he doesn't want to go to the Jets? What if he has no intention of going to the Jets? Like, that can't be your only DT option or, option at a given position. So, I mean, Mason Graham is obviously like one of the safest players in the draft, but I don't think he's going to be there at spot number 7. I value D tackle a ton, dude, especially with all the mobile quarterbacks, especially with all the shorter quarterbacks too.
Yeah.
Like, if you can affect a shorter quarterback, like up the middle, and force him to bounce outside, like, dude, that's, it makes his life super hard in the pocket to like throw over, when you constantly have your offensive lineman going backwards and you're having to, Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Bryce Young, like there's a lot of quarterbacks that aren't the biggest these days. So I don't know, to have a pass rushing option at the defensive tackle position, or at least someone that can hold their own, who could take pressure off of Q. Yeah. That's freaking huge, man. But the problem is, if it's not Mason Graham at 7 and you miss out in free agency, now what's the plan?
Yeah.
But again, dude, I'm thinking that the Jets are viewing this as a long-term style, like long-term plan. So they're not super pressed about, like, we have to nail this specific position. I think it's like, okay, if we do, great, but if not, we can address it in 26 because it's not going to be an overnight.
Well, I mean, I agree to a point, but I think I saw one thing in the chat too, and I kind of agree with, I think it was Grant, where it's like you win with the trenches. Like, you can do a lot of things, but you've got to, the offensive line, they're lucky. They got 4 out of 5 guys that are there, but the defensive line to me is a concern where you win games by a great defensive line, a great offensive line. We saw the Eagles, exactly what they did. So to me, if you're going to put a premium anywhere, that's where I'm putting it, right? Like, that's, if you want to invest there now, start there now and establish that's how you're you're building your program. That's the anchor of your team, right? That's where I would, like, if you want to like kind of skimp out on certain positions. Like, all right, we don't need this, we don't need that. Fine. Like, defensive line, offensive line is like it's non-negotiable for me. That's got to be that's got to be high priority for this team.
Right, but if the price is or if the price outweighs the quality of player, are you still going to bite that bullet?
That's the good question. That's like, how important is it to you to, like, how important is run defense to Aaron Glenn? Like, how much is he, like, that's his biggest selling point? If you figure good defense in a running game, you could probably win games just with that and a game manager. So that's your quickest return, right? So that's a good question.
Yeah, but it's a great point. I think even if it just comes down to like financial negotiations, you know what I'm saying? So like say Onwuzurike is worth X amount, like in Muji's eyes, he's worth X amount. And we saw this all the time with Joe Douglas, but with all the reports, like Douglas isn't going to go over a specific amount. Like he has his number, he's going to stick to his number. If Muji has Onwuzurike at, I don't know, dude, like pick a random number, 12 mil, 13 mil, 14 mil, whatever it is per season. And people start bidding around the league. And now he's up to 17 or some crazy number like that, 16, 17, 18, 19 mil per season, whatever number it's going to be. I don't think the Jets should just continue to dump money into that and just say, well, we need to go get D-tackle because D-tackle is very, very important to us. So now we're essentially doing like the draft equivalent of reaching on a prospect or reaching on a free agent where we're spending a ton on a guy who isn't worth that amount.
Right.
And I'm fine overpaying if we're like horrible, and when we need to get guys to come here. We saw that we see the Jaguars do that a lot with Khan. Like he's fine handing out these big deals to just get big name players to come. But that to me, again, if the pressure was all on this season, I'm fine overpaying, but I'm personally not going to reach on a free agent.
Well, I'm not going to reach, but I have a caveat to that. I completely agree with everything you're saying. I have a caveat. If this is a guy that is a great value for your defense and also is an Aaron Glenn guy that could be a leader and the spokesperson in the locker room and be like, you look at like a Bart Scott with Rex Ryan, made a lot of money here, but that was like, all right, good player, pay a little bit more, but he is your locker room leader. He is your captain, saying third, replacing CJ Mosley. So on and off the field, he's gonna make a big impact to help implement your program. I'm not opposed to that. That's kind of like make only difference maker. I agree. You can't spend haphazardly. It's irresponsible when your team that's where that right now. But there may be a little other value. Now, that can be an Aaron Glenn thing. Listen, man, we may have to pay $2 million more a year, but this guy is our Bart Scott or he is our Jim Leonard or whatever he is. He's that guy to help be my voice in the locker room. Then I would understand. But I agree with what you're saying completely otherwise.
Yeah, dude, it's a really good point. And that's kind of like if you just, throw out a free agent and you're like, if you're Muji and you're like, okay, give me the list of pros, give me every positive, age, price, performance, trajectory, whatever it is, system fit. Those come into play when you're talking about like the positives to a player, like locker room fit, experience with the coaching staff. He's going to be the coach on the field. That's a really, really good point, which would then drive the price higher. Or sorry, the value for the Jets higher in their minds about a specific player. So dude, it's a really, really good point. But hey, dude, bro, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. I know you're always in every chat, man. I appreciate you.
Who the hell is Crush 40? I've never heard of Crush. I gotta write this one down. Crush 40.
You guys are both awesome. Keep up the great work. Band recommendation. Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of them. I'll check them out though.
I'll definitely check them
out. Let's see. Man, I'm so far behind in this chat.
I know, man. You're slacking off over there. What's going on?
Well, I really tried. I really want to. I don't like strolling, by comments, dude. I really try to get to as many people as we possibly can. Let's see. Yeah, so we did this one. Or can you guys see both top quarterbacks falling down top set? I could see one. Because I think the Giants will go with one if there's one on the board, but I could see one falling down.
Yeah, not both.
Let's see. Jake, bro, I appreciate you, man. Great show, fellas. Does the Jets pain ever stop?
It stops this year,
I'm
man.
That we're going in the right direction, bro. But I appreciate you, man. And then Boogie, bro, no, stop sending in money, dude. This is just crazy, man. Save your cash. Dart 0-17, Taylor 8-9, Jordan 9-8. Next year's the best answer for quarterback for the Jets. Yes or no, Tyson? and Jet Central. I don't think Dart is going to go. Oh, I don't think the Jets are going to go winless next season. We have too much talent here, like top heavy talent.
And Jordan Travis, unfortunately, is a huge unknown where he's just not healthy. He's not even practicing yet. So we all want to have faith in him, believe in him, and give him a chance to compete for a starting job. But it seems like he has a long way to go just to get back into the NFL training camp and just show what he can do.
And then Boogie again, dude. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, bro. Guy who can the Jets trade to get more picks? Okay, like current piece on the roster. I would say someone who doesn't want to be here and someone who the Jets feel like they can get a good package for. So whoever requests trade, whoever, there's like some Garrett Wilson talks, that we heard it from Rich Cimini, but we haven't really heard anything, about that. So who knows?
I think you'll hear about that more once Aaron Glenn has team meetings, meets everybody, and shares his vision. Like, all right, are you in or are you out? Are you a fit or you're not? Like, you kind of figure out, because there's always a surprise. There's always one surprise move. Like, I didn't see that one coming when you have a whole new regime coming in here. So anything's possible, but we'll see. I think that you'll hear more about that probably the combine, the rumors start coming out and stuff like that.
Yeah, it would be weird to trade a player or request a trade without them meeting with the team or the new regime first. You know what I mean? Matt, bro, I appreciate you, man. Thank you, dude. Thank you. It means a lot. One name I keep on seeing, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up here, is Kyler Murray. Now, Kyler Murray's obviously getting paid a lot of money. He's had some injuries before in the past, and Arizona just feels like, gosh, dude, Arizona just feels so like mediocre, not in a bad way, but just like they're not a great team. They're not a bad team. They can, compete and hang with any team, but they just, I don't know. They're just a strange. I thought they were going to be a wild card team this season.
Yeah, so do I.
And I felt like midway through the season, I'm like, dude, like there's actually a chance of that happening, but I just don't see them trading off a Kyler unless they have unless they love someone else. Like if you want to trade like Kyler to the Titans or to the Giants, but in exchange you get the first pick, and then they get their core. I don't see them trading Kyler and then just shrugging their shoulders and saying, now what? Let's go get Fields, and pay him a ton of money, or Carr. Like to me, like if you trade Kyler, like you got to have as we know as Jets fans, dude, it's so hard to find QBs. So you have one. Granted, he's not, an elite one, but you at least have a playable option. Someone who I would consider a franchise quarterback. But
you do something like that if you have an upgrade in mind, pretty much in the foreseeable future, right? Like you literally do. You can't say, let's get rid of Kyler and then just lose for 3 years while we try to figure something out. You have to have a legit plan A right after you make that move. I don't think they're going to do that, man. I'd be shocked if they did that.
Yeah, Spawn Killer. What QB is best for the Jets?
Good question.
It really just depends on, again, dude, like I hate to keep sounding like a broken record, but it's just, how do they view these guys? Are they looking at Kirk Cousins like he's all right? Kirk Cousins, Tyrod Taylor, same kind of production. Ultimately?
Okay, hold on, but let's answer this though, because to me, like Jameis Winston would be a lot of fun, but I think in this offense, they probably want to have a guy that's a really good game manager and responsible to football. Can't play haphazardly, throwing like a lot of interceptions, turnovers. So you figure he'd be probably taken out of the equation, right? So you probably want a good culture guy, a good leader, solid locker room presence, can help implement this offense, teach a young guy. Like who would be those kind of guys? So like Kirk Cousins, as bad as it sounds, could be a viable option. Derek Carr probably costs a little bit more money, would probably be a guy that would fit. But you can make a case that Tyrod Taylor is actually that guy, just older, doesn't stay healthy all the time. So it's kind of like it's like based on what we think they need right now for this year, you can kind of like narrow out some of those guys.
Yeah, dude. It feels like what is going to happen with the Jets. They're going to sit in a room, Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, and they're going to literally throw every quarterback name up on a board, every quarterback name that you can acquire. Mm-hmm. Trade options, draft picks, free agents, and they're going to go through and they're going to rate them. And if they don't love any of them, then we're in a bridge year. But if they love one, Sanders, Ward, whatever, Dart, now all of a sudden, no more bridge. We just need a quick bridge to get to 26. So this guy that we love has time to develop. Yep. I don't think they're going to love any free agent.
Nope.
I don't think they're going to love Fields. I don't think they're going to love Darnold. I don't think they're going to love any of these. I think they might like them, but I don't think they're going to love them to the point where like we got to build around Cousins. We got to build around Carr. Like it's not realistic in my opinion.
I saw the one Gardner Minshew mentioned with Rich. I've always liked Gardner Minshew, man. I've had a thing I like the way he plays the game. He's just fiery, but he's a fun guy to watch.
Yeah, man. So dude, we hit on a lot of different topics. Next week, obviously Tyson's channel. And again, dude, if you want to run through your the fundraiser one more time.
Oh yeah, well, first of all, thank you guys for joining us. Yeah, we appreciate you guys joining us at noon on a Monday. We usually do it like on Tuesdays at 7:00, but our schedules have been kind of weird the last 2 weeks. We kind of improvised. I'm doing a fundraiser. I'm doing the Georgia City Marathon, April 13th. I'm trying to raise mental health awareness and also raise money to support our veterans. I picked out 2 great organizations, one in Queens, New York, one in Toms River, New Jersey. So it's all over my social media. I'll be spamming it everywhere. He has a link there for the t-shirts. I appreciate all the support. And I appreciate you guys all chiming in and like the super chats and everything, man. I have so much fun doing the show with you, man, talking about solutions, because anybody can bitch and moan about, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that. Now it's about finding answers and then kind of reacting as the Jets roll out their plan, which can be really exciting.
Yeah, dude, 100%, 100%. Boogie, bro. I appreciate you, man, but you do not. I don't want anyone to ever feel pressure to send in, money to the streams, dude. I truly do appreciate it, though. Tyson, the David Carr train is back. Yes or no?
David Carr, he guy's old.
Derek Carr.
You know why he's saying that though? Because I actually liked Derek Carr when there was the whole Aaron Rodgers before Rodgers became available. I like Derek Carr a lot. I like the way he plays the game. I like that he's a leader. Unfortunately, he played terribly last year, but it's just, I think he's a good culture guy. It's just he got hurt a lot last year, got banged up, but I like him, so I'll own it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Carr's market's just going to be interesting because how much is he really going to ask for?
Yep.
Because I mean, he is someone who can go in and start an entire season and put up good numbers. So based off of that, he's literally one of the best Raiders ever by the numbers. Based off of that, like you're thinking, okay, he's going to get a lot of money, but then you look at like kind of how last season went and just the overall vibe on Carr. I don't know if he's going to get a lot of money. He might get like a 1 year, $25-30 million deal.
And that's the thing is like, what is he looking for? Is he looking for stability and a chance to play? He's looking for just like a 1 year. Like, what is he looking for? Because if he's asking for that kind of money, I'm out. But does he want to go somewhere where he knows the organization is going to pick a young guy? He's going to be out the door in 2 years. Like, I'm curious what his mindset is going into free agency, if that actually does happen.
Yeah, man. And then Spawn Killer, we need to get the penalties down. They killed us, dude, 100%. And I think with the coaching change, we should see that.
Completely. Yeah, that's where the whole discipline and accountability comes in. That's huge for this team.
Yeah, and so I think that's going to do it for us. So I appreciate everyone hanging out. Again, kind of a weird time, Monday at noon. Typically, we do these on Tuesday nights. Just had some things pop up. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, everybody. I appreciate you guys. And as always, go Jets.